Hey guys, this is Sundown Rider here, and this is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, chapter 193, the Steeled Captain of the Holy Knight. So this is the Seven Deadly Sins. So the cover page is Fraudrin looking at Zaratras and Hendrickson, and he's just basically looking at them. They're kind of eyeing each other up. So then we go straight into the chapter, which is basically, it delves straight from the cover page. So Zaratras says, if Purge doesn't work on Dreyfus or Fraudrin, then we gotta exterminate his life. Hendrickson's all like, but then everything we've worked for, everything we've done up until now has been worthless. We can't do that. I disagree with this. So Dreyfus attacks. Zaratras warns Hendrickson to stay on his toes. He attacks with the move called Thunder God's Flash Movement, and he totally destroys this ruin that Hendrickson was standing in front of. Luckily enough, Zaratras grabs Hendrickson and evades. Fraudrin then tells Zaratras that he's hesitating. He's saying, you're hesitating to kill me, you're hesitating to even try to hurt me because I'm in your younger brother's body and you don't want to kill me. So then a red blob pops up and just tumbles out of the ruin that Fraudrin attacked. And Fraudrin's face during this whole scene is just hilarious. He's just like, what the hell's going on? So we know it's Hawk because we see like the little markings on his ass and the horns on the Hawk. But Fraudrin's face when he first picks up Hawk, he's like, oh. And then when he actually sees who it is, and he's like a pig, and his face is just hilarious. So Hawk blows out a gas upon Fraudrin's face. It's a rotting leftover gas, you know, like maggot juice type thing in a bin. So Fraudrin is dying because of the smell. He's just like, oh, this is horrifying. So Zaratras takes this opportunity and uses the most powerful move known to man, the full Nelson. And he full Nelson's Fraudrin. Fraudrin's all like, you've got me, but your magic is too weak to even scratch me. You ain't gonna do nothing. So Zaratras knows this, and he says he knows this, but says, what would happen if I poured my entire life energy into a purge? And then Fraudrin would be dragged out of his body, and would be dragged out of Dreyfus. So Fraudrin's like, well, shit. You've got me there. So Hendrickson's like, no. For some reason, I think he still assumes that Zaratras is trying to kill Dreyfus, whereas Zaratras is just going to use a full power purge basically. So a huge white flash goes off, and then we see Griamore climbing some steps. Another possibility could be that Hendrickson just knew that using a full power purge would kill Zaratras once again, and he didn't want that either. He kind of wants the best of the best case scenario, which there really isn't a best case scenario at this point. So we see Griamore climbing up some steps, which is Dreyfus' son. And then the next double spread is sick. We see Zaratras and Dreyfus falling back. Both of them seem to be unconscious. And Fraudrin is out in his demon form in this like awesome pose. He's just there like, yeah. And but he's in his demon form, and he's basically this behemoth with spikes on his upper back and shoulders and his forearms. He's got a stony texture to his skin. And Hendrickson's just coming out of his no pose. He's still doing the pose. So Fraudrin's annoyed at Zaratras. And then we see that he has a mouth. Fraudrin has a mouth across his chest in his demon form. And his forearms don't have wrists. They just kind of extend into his fingers even. They're not even really hands because they're not connected. They're just fingers. It looks really, really weird. I'm not sure if anybody noticed that, but it actually looks pretty weird. So Hendrickson notes on Fraudrin's sinister and hideous body, on his hideous looks. Fraudrin calls Zaratras a fool, saying that he just got his life back and now he's already wasted it, and he can just re-enter. Fraudrin can just re-enter Dreyfus's body at will if he wanted to, and he's gonna do that. So Hendrickson charges, saying he won't give him the chance to re-enter Dreyfus's body. Now, if you think about it, and think about it just a little bit more than you would normally, just skimming over the chapter, what Zaratras has done is very, very very selfless, because he's got a new. It's not that he's been given a new lease on life. It's that he's been given a new life. He was killed initially, and he didn't have the chance to see his own son grow up to adulthood. And now that he's got that chance, and he does have the ability to see his son again, he would rather free his younger brother from the chains and clasps of a demon at the cost of his own life, at the expense of his own life, than do any other thing that he's possibly regretted while he's been dead. I mean, the commandment that brought him back is meant to bring back anybody with any sense of regret, any longing that was unfulfilled. And this seems to be that longing. I assume Zaratras is going to perish next chapter, but his longest regret has been that his brother was occupied and possessed by a demon while he was unable and powerless to defend him. So he seems like a really, really gold medal deserving older brother. So Hendrickson charges, and Fraudrin pierces Hendrickson's shoulder, asking if Hendrickson is really going to throw away his life. Hendrickson then tells Fraudrin to possess him instead. Fraudrin's all like, man, Dreyfus's body is like on another level compared to yours. Yours is weak, and me and Dreyfus have had this partnership over 10 years. I ain't gonna possess you over him for nothing. So Hendrickson then tells him that he only possessed Dreyfus so that he could gather his power and take on Meliodas eventually in vengeance for his locking away of the original commandments. So he says, you've had ample time to recover your power, and Meliodas has died, so your need for Dreyfus has ended. You don't need him anymore, so leave us alone, basically. So then Griamore pops out of nowhere. Well, he was climbing the stairs. We knew he was climbing the stairs, and says, "Father," and then shouts "Father" towards. I assume he saw Dreyfus on the floor, and he was just like, "Father," but almost by habit or instinct, or maybe it must have been by instinct. Just like when you've pretended to be something for so long, eventually you'll become part of it. Or you'll slightly become part of it. And it'll just become part of your habit, part of your mentality. So when Griamore shouts "Father," by instinct, Fraudrin turns around with a look of concern, and he's like, "Griamore?" And it shows that after those 10 years being inside Dreyfus's body, he's probably grown to be more human than he would have ever wanted to be. So then a beam pierces Fraudrin's chest. I think it was on the left side. Was it? It basically pierces his chest on one of the sides, and Hendrickson drops off, and someone says, "Don't you dare," to his name. And you should recognize the sword if you've been reading it for a while. We know it's Dreyfus's sword, and in the next page he's just standing there in all his badassery. He's just looking up at Fraudrin like, "Yeah, I got this." So Fraudrin says a mere human shouldn't have been able to damage him. Dreyfus drops the "My faith is honed and unwavering. It is firm, it is tempered. There is nothing I cannot pierce." A lot like Zoro's "There's nothing I cannot cut," so it reminded me of that, but it was cool nonetheless, and Dreyfus looked badass. So Dreyfus says Fraudrin's downfall will be underestimating the humans, as much as he has. So he goes in with his final attack. This is Dreyfus going in with his final attack, which is called Tenkan Hagoku Jin, which is Heaven's Piercing Jailbreaking Blade. Kind of apt, seeing as it's jailbreaking, because, Dreyfus kind of just broke out of jail, you know what I'm saying. But so Fraudrin's all like, "Oh, she," and then he just gets blasted away by Dreyfus's move. A really, really nice move, and it was a nice panel at the end where we kind of just see Fraudrin explode into bits. But we're not sure if he's dead. This can't be. You can't fully say 100% that he's dead. This hasn't clarified that fully yet. We'll see that next chapter. So next chapter is called A Cruel Hope, and I think personally this, because a lot of people on Manga Stream are saying, "Oh, maybe this has something to do with Fraudrin still being alive. Maybe this has something to do with Fraudrin dying and giving his commandment back to Gautha," which could still happen in my opinion. That could still be an issue that they'll have to face in the forthcoming chapters. But I don't think that this has anything to do with Fraudrin being still alive. I think Fraudrin's dead by now, and I think this just has to do with Dreyfus regaining his body and his regaining his hope, only to see his brother die for him once again, or die because of him once again. So he's regained his hope in a cruel and crude fashion, and this is why it's a cruel hope. So overall, the chapter was around a 3.5, maybe a 4 or 4 out of 5. It was a good chapter, but nothing groundbreaking, nothing completely new. So nothing to score it above a 4. Fraudrin has possibly finally died, and it's about time. Fraudrin's probably been the longest on-screen commandment, I think, because not on-screen, but we've seen him since Fraudrin possessed Dreyfus many, many years ago. And Zaratras has died and has died for Dreyfus again, and he's taught us the full Nelson is indeed the most powerful move in the manga world. And Hawk's a badass. Hawk's actually provided them with the opportunity to full Nelson Dreyfus Fraudrin in Dreyfus's body. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I want to see what next chapter's about. Like I said, I think it's just going to be that Zaratras has indeed died once again because of Dreyfus, or for Dreyfus. But yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys later.